Welcome again in Understanding Basic ECG Lectures. Today our topic is supraventricular arrhythmias. In this lecture and the following lectures, we will look at different types of arrhythmias originating in different parts of the heart. We will look at supraventricular arrhythmias, which means arrhythmias generated from abnormal foci or sites at the level of the atria and the AV node. And also, in the following lectures, we'll look at the ventricular arrhythmias in which the abnormal impulses are generated in the ventricle. Also, in our discussion, we'll discuss accessory bundles or pathways which could pathologically connect the impulses abnormally away from the normal AV nodal conduction. In case of supraventricular arrhythmias, when the impulse is generated in the atria or AV node, we expect the abnormality to be in the P wave mainly. But when the impulse reaches the normal ventricular conductive system, we expect the QRS to remain narrow. We call it narrow complex, and we give the tachycardia the term narrow complex tachycardia. But if the impulse is generated in the ventricle, as it will evade the normal conductive pathway and the conduction will be cell-to-cell conduction, this will lead to wide QRS complex, and we call it wide complex tachycardia. As I mentioned, the supraventricular tachycardias originate mainly in the atria and AV node. We have different types. We have atrial fibrillation, which is completely irregular, and we have two regular types, which are the atrial flutter and the paroxysmal supraventricular tachycardia. Atrial fibrillation happens due to foci in the atria, which leads to multiple reentrant wavelets, causing continuous stimulation of the atria. And the AV node passes the impulses at variable intervals to the ventricles. If we look at this ECG, if you look at the heart rate, it is about 100 beats per minute, but it is completely irregular. So it shows irregularity. If you look at the distance between each R wave and the following one, it is not equidistant like what happens in regular rhythm. At the same time, if you look at the B wave, you can't see a B wave, but you see just fibrillatory baseline. So there is absent B wave, there is fibrillatory baseline. QRS is of normal duration. So this is a pattern of atrial fibrillation. In atrial flutter, there is a single reentrant pathway loops in the right atrium, which generates a very high atrial rate, which could be 300, 350. It's very dangerous if this very high atrial rate transmitted to the ventricle, because this leads to very high ventricular rate, which will not give any time for filling of the ventricle and leading to circulation collapse. The AV node here acts as a gatekeeper, which only allowing every second or third or fourth impulse to go to the ventricle to generate the QRS complex. So in this case, mathematical block would happen to 2 to 1, 3 to 1, or 4 to 1, which will prevent the high rate transmission into the ventricle. So if we look at this ECG, the rate here is about 70. It is completely regular, and this is an important difference between the atrial flutter and atrial fibrillation. And the B wave here takes a fluttering wave shape, which we call sawtooth appearance. And you will find, for example, every 3 B waves and then 1, or every 4 and then 1 QRS complex, which will represent 3 to 1 or 4 to 1. There is no, of course, PR interval, and the QRS complex is normal in duration. So if we make a comparison between atrial flutter and atrial fibrillation, here is the mechanism in flutter: single re-entry circuit, here multiple chaotic wavelets. Here we find sawtooth waves, and here chaotic and fibrillatory baseline. The heart rate is regular in flutter, it is irregular in fibrillation. B wave, sawtooth flutter waves, here we don't have B waves. Atrial contraction is present but ineffective in flutter, and it is absent in fibrillation, which leads to stagnation of blood inside the atria, and this can lead to thromboembolism. Hence, the risk of stroke is higher in atrial fibrillation. Still, there is risk of stroke in atrial flutter. The heart rate in flutter, it is often around 150 or 100 according to the mathematical block in the AV node. The heart rate in atrial fibrillation is variable. So this is just to remember, this is the normal rhythm, completely regular. There is P wave and P normal PR interval before each QRS complex. The atrial flutter is still regular, but the baseline showing the sawtooth appearance of the atrial flutter, and in atrial fibrillation showing irregularity, and baseline showing fibrillatory. So supraventricular tachycardia, it happens due to a reentrant circuit looping entirely within the EV nodes, generating such tachycardia, which we can call atrial tachycardia, paroxysmal supraventricular tachycardia, or sometimes junctional tachycardia. And as you can see in the tracing, you have at the start normal ECG, heart rate is 74 beats per minute, it is regular, and there is sudden acceleration of the heart rate happening suddenly, leading also to a regular heart rate. So it is completely regular, but the heart rate changes from 74 to 148. There is no P wave, there is no PR interval, and QRS duration is normal. Here we have a question, how to differentiate between sinus tachycardia, which we mentioned in the previous lecture, and supraventricular tachycardia. Both of them are regular arrhythmias. But for sinus tachycardia, it is of gradual onset and gradual offset. It is like if you are running, your heart accelerates gradually, and when you take rest, it slows gradually. With supraventricular tachycardia, it is of sudden onset and sudden offset and happens in episodes, or we call it paroxysmal in paroxysms. And P waves in sinus tachycardia is clearly identifiable and upright and precedes each QRS complex. So the sinus tachycardia simply it is like normal ECG but fast. The supraventricular tachycardia is a P wave often hidden or lost. Sinus tachycardia is usually a physiological response to external trigger like physical exertion, fever, psychological stress, but supraventricular tachycardia is pathological electrical glitch which happening due to looping reentrant circuit. So both of them have fast heart rate, both of them are regular, but they are different. In summary, atrial fibrillation gives irregular rhythm, chaotic baseline, no P waves, just fibrillatory baseline, and it is due to multiple bilateral wavelets. Atrial flutter, regular rhythm, and the atrial activity between 250 to 350 beats per minute, giving the sawtooth appearance, and it is due to single right atrium loop. And paroxysmal supraventricular tachycardia, it is sudden regular acceleration, which is regular of sudden onset and sudden offset, lost P waves, and it is due to AV nodal loop. In all these cases, QRS complex is normal. So if you have this algorithm, evaluate the QRS width. If the QRS is narrow, which means that the QRS is less than 0.12 second, this means supraventricular origin of the arrhythmia. If the arrhythmia is completely irregular, this is atrial fibrillation. It is regular with sawtooth appearance, it is atrial flutter. If regular with sudden onset, sudden offset, it is paroxysmal supraventricular tachycardia. If the QRS complex is wide, which means more than 0.12 second, if it is regular and deformed, QRS would be ventricular tachycardia. If irregular, would be ventricular fibrillation. We will discuss this in the lecture of ventricular arrhythmias. But there is a very important teaching point here. Not every wide complex tachycardia is ventricular, because we still can have supraventricular tachycardia with apparent conduction, which we will discuss in the ventricular tachycardia lecture. Before we leave this part, I wanted to mention a certain abnormality. As you know, the only electrical connection between the atria and the ventricles is a bundle of His. Some people may have an accessory connection between the atria and the ventricles, which will transmit the impulse in a rapid way without the AV delay. And this is called Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome, WPW syndrome. And in this case, what happens, you find that the PR interval is short, less than 3 small squares, and there is a slurred delta wave, which is this slurred rising of the R wave here. We call it delta wave. So short PR interval and the slurred delta wave. But later on, you will find the QRS complex continues normally. Why? Because the normal impulse coming through the AV node and AV bundle will catch up with the delta wave and continue the stimulation. This is called Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome, which is due to an accessory bundle between the atria and ventricles, leading to such ECG picture. Thank you for watching, and we will move in the next lecture to talk about the AV junctional block.